got an order on the floor, so we'll start with Brandon.
Jake, I was going to ask you, my first question was going to be about that. So the 2013, last time it was sold out.
Yeah.
The last time the Bulls fans, well, Loftus faithful, have had the final was 2009, because 2010 was in Soweto.
Yes.
So it's been a long time coming to get a full house again and the final. And obviously, what would it mean to win it? And it's more than just the team, obviously.
Yeah. Brendan, I must say, I know I was here with that Brumbies. Was it sold out for that semi-final? I can't remember that it was sold out. I mean,
It was close to.
Okay. Again, as I said, I don't remember that it was sold out. I mean, obviously, and I'm hoping it wasn't sold out, because it felt like there were 100,000 people here against the Brumbies anyway. So if it's sold out, I'd hate to know what it's going to feel like for a team that comes here when it is genuinely sold out. And I mean, I'm trying to tell you something that 2009 playing the Crusaders here or playing the Chiefs here in the final, and it's sold out. That's why when he asked the question, he's 100% right. What's it going to be like? Unless you've been here, you got no idea, I mean, I try to explain to people as well is that, I've been here with Springbok games, but it's different when there's 53,000 Bull supporters. It's one thing to come for a test match when there are visiting fans, and I wouldn't say 50-50, but there's still an element of support for the other team. But I've heard from everyone who's been involved that when you play in a final and it's just Bull supporters, it's an incredible experience. So, yeah, I mean, as I said, I mean, I would think it's a massive advantage, and I'm talking about for the players, for the psyche. I mean, people say, what are you going to say? I don't think I need to say anything. I mean, when you run out and they're 53,000, I mean, you've experienced that. And they're going to be here since 2 o'clock watching the Springboks play. Springboks beat Wales. We kick off at 6 o'clock. I mean, I'm going to tell you, this place is going to be going crazy. So, but it is something that I want to say we worked hard for. Probably been a bit fortunate, because everyone thought that we wouldn't get a home final this year. And when you do get an opportunity like this, you've got to make sure you use it in your favour and you play as well as you can.
Just on the counters, of course, Franco's been part of coaching teams that have upset the Bulls. 2005, it was with Rassie here when they won the Currie Cup.
Yeah, I wasn't here, so it was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say you also know how to counter them. I mean,
Yeah.
also has advantages in your favour.
Yeah, but as I said, I wasn't here. Rassie, I was overseas. I was miles away. So, and I was coaching the Springboks in those days. So, yeah, I don't think it counts anything for any coach who thinks he knows how to win here, or could have played here, or used to play here. I mean, we had Tace Lawrence, who's won 7 Currie Cups on the field now. So, it should be a fait accompli then, because he was on the field for us today as well. So, it's funny, Brent. I don't want to get involved in this oak does that and this oak does that. Tomorrow, it's absolutely irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant. What happened last week is irrelevant. What happened in the pool game is irrelevant. I coach Franco, so that just shows you. Maybe Franco. As I said, if I use that as an example, Franco in 1997, when I was with the Springboks, he was a youngster without kids playing for the Springboks. So a lot of things have changed since '97 too.
And just final one for me. I mean, probably the biggest thing that could upset you guys is that you played your final last week.
Yeah.
Just in terms of that, the way the team's gone through the week and how have you kept them?
Yeah, I think the fact that they beat the number 1 team in Munster means that they could have played their final last week too.
Jake, just coming back to Turkey Aronson, it's quite a surprise.
Yeah.
Receiving the team, when did you realise that he might be available for the final, and what does it mean for the team to have that X factor back in the background?
Kobus, I must say, I mean, obviously I would never do that if I didn't think he was ready. I would never, how can I put it to you? I wouldn't force it. I mean, the bottom line's got to come from the player, and he wants to play. I think the sort of thing, I suppose, a bit like Anton Dupont. Once you ask a specialist what more can go wrong, or can anything go wrong, and he goes, no, I fixed up what I fixed. I mean, it's a little bit like having a wound, and all that has to happen is the wound has to heal. Whatever happens inside is not going to change, And credit to him, And I think it says a lot too, because he could quite easily say, hang on, I've got Bok Rugby coming up and and maybe I don't want to take that risk. So it says a lot for him. And as I said, it probably means a lot to the team.
Did he approach you to consider him, or how did it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's not a case. I probably went and begged him, and probably, So, no, I'm kidding. I just would have said to him, listen, let's go to the doctor, find out how it's healed, go to the specialist. He went to the specialist. I think once he got a peace of mind from the guy who did the op, saying, look, quickly, it's as I said to you, there's no more that can happen. I mean, and to be fair, guys, as well, think about it. The chances of that happening again in the same spot is a really unlikely chance. You think about it. I mean, that was a freak thing that happened. So when he heard that from the specialist, then he was happy to go. Look, I want to be part of it. I want to play. And he's massive for us. I mean, I think the other thing, I don't think that they would have planned that Kirtley was going to be playing this week as well, which is also a massive thing for us as well, because they would have probably thought he's out, and now they've got to re-look at things that he can do well.
Jake, you've got a young pack of forwards, young captain. How difficult was it to leave out Marshall on the bench, especially for that last 20 minutes? If it's a tight game, needed experience and captain.
Of course, I tell you, it's very tough, very tough. I mean, he's a club captain. He's a tough guy. He was player of the, I think URC, he might have been Ulster's player of the year. But the one thing we've been speaking about since I got here is we can't make rules or certain exceptions for certain people. He didn't play rugby for 10 weeks, number one. Glasgow play with pace on the ball. They're not, and you're right, 20 minutes to go. But what happens if someone gets injured in the first minute? And then all of a sudden I've got a guy who hasn't played for 10 weeks playing there, and then we go, but you should have learned that there was a chance that he needed to play 70 minutes, not 20 minutes. Would I have loved him part of this makeup of this team? Of course, would I have loved him to be on the field? But I think, what message would I send to the guys who did the job last week? One of the things about sport is he comes in and all of a sudden someone gets dropped and they just did their job last week. It's not really. I mean, if you talk genuinely about the team comes first, and and you got to be honest with the players, well, then you can't really. When the pressure comes, then you change your rules, because then whatever you gain, whatever you think you've gained with the players over the last 4 years is irrelevant. So it's tough for him. I mean, I can see now he's walked. It's hard. I mean, he's human. He'd love to be part of it. When he sees Frick and Tace on the field, and he sees the media, and he knows tomorrow he sees on the newspapers it's sold out. I mean, every young kid wants to. But I have to, he understands as well, we have to do what's best for the team. And then what's best for the team is, and that's, again, while I go back, Kirtley was only out 2-3 weeks ago. So Kirtley, for argument's sake, is not out for 10 weeks and not ready. When you have a flanker out for 10 weeks, and we were always under the impression that it was 50-50 that he would be ready for the playoffs. And the way it's been going with Marco and Cameron and Ulrich and Nizam, and if you consider Mpilo Ngumedi was drafted into the box as well, so we were always covered in that position. So we didn't really bank on the fact that we were going to be able to use him. And I'm saying that from a planning point of view. There would always have been a bonus, and maybe our hands were tied because some guys got injured. But as I said, Chris, I think one of the lessons that I think we've always told each other: team comes first. And if you've delivered, it's very difficult to tell the guy you're out for the final.
Okay, then my second question, how important is the role of a guy like Henning Gericke in a week like this?
I think, Henning's been with me since 2004, so I don't think you get judged on weeks like this. I think it's the cumulative effect of what happens in the group over a long period of time. People think the Kop doctor comes in now, says 2 or 3 wonderful things, and then, but it doesn't work like that. I think it's a cumulative effect of one-on-ones with players, letting them, talking to them about things that they've had to go through, youngsters that are growing into becoming better players, older guys that are feeling they're not getting enough game time. When you put all that together, that is I think is the ingredient that I think he adds to us, Chris. I don't think it's necessarily a motivational video he's going to put together this week that's going to, this is the week where probably less is more. Often players speak about it, but this is probably that week where less is more.
Jake, just going back to sort of 11 years ago when you sort of came here, I remember you sitting there talking about people traveling around the world.
Yes.
Say that they want to be there when history is made.
Yes.
Have you made your team aware of the perils of a team
Yes.
like Glasgow coming here and saying to themselves, they want to defy the odds?
Every week. Every week. It's what I tell them about. That's what sport's all about. I mean, I told you last week as I sat here, people want to say, I was there the day the Bulls beat Leinster when they had no chance. I was there when, that's what sport's all about. I was there when Glasgow beat Munster in Munster. So we're not underplaying, that the rules aren't different this week to last week. The rules are the same. Everyone wants to win a final. We lost a final. We know what it feels like, and part of that is we've paid our school fees. So we can't let that opportunity go away because we've learned that. We learned that lesson. And so I do it every week with him. That's why I said, even with Henning, it's not a case of this week we say, geez, guys, this is the week. This has been coming. I read a wonderful thing which you guys, one of you wrote about Marku saying, we've been planning for the final for the last 20 weeks. Because we don't want to only start planning for the final when we get to a certain point of the season. Surely you want to plan for the final from when you start. Otherwise, you don't genuinely think you're going to get there. So, of course, those will be the things that, like you say, that'll be let's make history and let's make sure that we also, but we can only control the controllables. And all I'll tell you is there's going to be 53,000 crazy, fanatical Bull supporters here tomorrow. And all we need to do, and as I said, focus on what we do. And all we need to do is we just replicate the intensity and the attitude and the way we played last weekend, and I will be content. I will be content that therefore that is the measurement, because I know when we do that, it's very difficult for teams to beat us.
And Jack, on a personal note, where does this sort of rank in your list of achievements? Taking the union as big as the Bulls.
Yeah.
Getting them to a final and having one end of the trophy.
We haven't won it yet, so I mean it's haven't won it ever. We lost in the final, so but there's no thing about ranking. Every trophy you win. I mean, as I said, I got Bakkies to come and talk to them. Bakkies won European Cup, French Championship, British Irish Lions, 3 Super Rugby titles, about 7 Currie Cup titles. I mean, to ask a player like that, which one is it? I mean, I think the reality is it's every time you win, you want to make sure you can bottle that and keep that feeling forever. That's basically what it is. It doesn't matter what the trophy is, or you want to bottle that feeling. I mean, I tell you guys something which is obvious. If you could bottle that feeling and sell it, you'd be a multi-millionaire. Because there's those things there's certain people never experience.
Coach, I mean, some of the things you did well last week was the composure when you're under pressure and when decisions were not going your way. How important will that element be this weekend?
A good question, because that goes hand in hand what Chris asked me about Henning. Those are the reinforcement things you do. 2 weeks in a row now we've had to defend for 4 minutes on our try line to win both games. Those are the margins that you're going to have to find in these games. The exceptions are when the Chiefs came here and they got 60 from the Bulls, I think. Remember, those are the exceptions. So there are going to be moments in the game, and when you can get those moments week after week is when you know your team's growing. And I mean, 2 weeks in a row, you remember Benetton on our line, 27-20, they could have scored. We got out of there. Last week, 25-20, and Nazam kicked that ball down the field after we defended for like 22 phases. Now, those are the things that build rugby teams. Those are things that you quite rightly say is that what do you do? What do you need in big games? That's what you need, and you need to reinforce that it's been done. You can do it. You might need to do it again, and and that's the way you're going to win, is that you don't have to do anything extraordinary. Just do those things that you've shown that you can do, and we'll be fine.
I mean, Coach, this season we've seen the team react whenever they've been down. We've seen them again go up and down at times. This final right now, can you say you've been planning for it throughout the whole campaign?
Yes.
The attitude they display tomorrow. Just what are you looking for in that?
Well, the only thing I would say is I just want to make sure we learn from whatever we've done in the last 4 years. Played in the final, we lost it. We played in the quarterfinal, we lost it. We've played in 2 really big games in the last 2 weeks. We won them. So those lessons you just put all together, and we just got to make sure that we learn from those lessons. That's what I want. That's and to win, obviously, to win.
Jake,
It's
looking at the progression of the team, I think 2 things you've stressed all season, which is one, you feel this is a better team than the one that made it into the last final.
Yes.
And the second part is that you've also stressed that you're not quite where you'd like the team to be.
Yeah.
But here you are in a second final in 3 years.
Yeah.
How much does that ratchet up the pressure to make sure that you get something, regardless of whether you feel you're where you want to be or not?
Yeah. I'm repeating myself to what I've said to you many times. When you play as a professional golfer and you have to make the cut on a Friday afternoon, and you can't pay bills, that's pressure. When you're walking down the 18th and you have a chance to par the last hole and win the competition, that's not same pressure. And if where we are now, I'd rather be walking down the 18th knowing that we can make par and win. So, are we where we need to be yet? Not far from where I want us to be. And have we grown? Of course we've grown. Is the team better? The only reason the team's better is because Grobies in his first in URC final was 22. He's now 23. He's now 25. Ruan Vermaak was 22. He's now 25. Elrich Lowe was 19. He's now 22. And I might get the ages wrong by 1 or 2 years. But the point I'm making is a lot of those guys were kids, and they're now a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit tougher, a little bit more streetwise in terms of where they need to be as players. And that's why I know we've improved, because you've added certain players that have come into our squad, and they've been fantastic for us. But generally, it's been a growth process for us. The Gerard Steenkamps and the Gerard and Grobies played in that final, and Ruan Nokia played in that final, and Ulrich played in that final, and Zach Berger played in that final. Ambrose was on the bench, so Chris Smith played in that final. So all that's happened is we've just grown, and that's what's always nice as a coach, is we've grown, we've got better, we've got older, and the pressure, as I said to you, of course but I never use the word pressure, boys. Pressure is when you have a red and a white cable, and if you cut the wrong one, the house blows up. That's pressure.
And just to talk a couple of questions about Banco. You said earlier that you coached in the '97. First part is, did you see this coach when you were coaching him as a player? And the second part is, how would you describe his coaching philosophy now that you obviously opponents?
Okay, Sim, I'm going to give my age away. When he was at school, he played for San du Plessis. His dad was the headmaster, and I was coaching Jeppy. So I watched Franco and MJ when their dad was coaching them at San du Plessis. So it's not just from '97. I mean, I know Franco probably better than most guys know, and I know his parents, and I know he's a wonderful guy, a wonderful family. His parents are unbelievably nice people. He loves rugby. You can see he loves rugby. He's an incredibly hard-working guy. His philosophy has always been one of he likes a certain style that he likes to play, and he's done it hell of a well with Glasgow. And that style it's almost grey-like, but he was at San du Plessis. because he likes to play that kind of rugby, and it's worked well for him. I mean, he's done well. Last year he was coach of the year. This year he's got his team to the final. He was one game away from being top of the log as well. He's gone with a team and taken them and beaten Munster in Munster. I mean, what more can I say other than I have huge respect for him, and it's also nice when you get older and you start coaching against guys that you either coached or or that you knew at school or whatever. It's getting to that stage of my life now where it won't be long before I'm coaching boys who I used to coach as kids as well. It's not far away. I mean, Bucky's son is going to matric next year. Skulkberger's kid's going to high school next year. If I last long enough, maybe who knows? I'll have Skulkberger and Bucky's sons playing here as well. So it's I can't really answer the philosophy because I just think that he's a Free State boy. He came from San Duplessis, played Craven Week. I can tell you so many stories. I coached university rugby when he was playing for Kovsies, and that year they had Luther Bacchus and Nakadrutsky and N.T. Martins and Bram Els and Arie van Ryswyk and all those players. That's how. And I was coaching Wits University, so I've known him a long time, and I'm sure he'll get them up for this game. I'm sure he will prepare them as well as he can. I'm sure that he will stick to what he believes in as a coach, because that's one of the things that I think is good about him. He's going to stick to what he believes in, and yeah, all we got to do is I've just got to be very, very aware of the fact that what I say to you is the way we're going to do it is we're going to focus on what we have to do well tomorrow. I can't be worried about, who said what and where they were and what they did, because tomorrow it's in 80 minutes. There's a new champion.
Can you close it off for us, please?
So Jake, can you write that you signed Skulk's son? And,
Long time ago, at birth, Ken. Him and Bismarck's son already been signed, but his twins and they're all coming.
Jake, just to go back to you talk about the growth of the players, and obviously, as you mentioned, there is the experience that comes from just playing for longer. But just these last couple of knockout games, and remembering that going into that, there was all that talk about how the Bulls can't play for 80 minutes and second half fades, and there was a big concern about that. Do you feel, and I guess I'm especially talking about the mental side, the confidence side.
Yes.
Do you feel that there's been a bit of an exponential little growth these last 2 weeks amongst them?
Yeah, definitely, Ken. And I know you're going to ask me, but why? And I think that's what happens in sport. If you get out of those situations like you did in the last 2 weeks, then you grow as a team. The margins are so small, man. I was watching Rory McIlroy on the weekend, guys. I mean, those are the margins are so small, I mean, you would never ever have thought that Rory was going to lose that tournament at the end of that. And I use that as a sporting thing, because what I say to him, if he had won there, then you just kick on to another level. You look at Nelly Korda winning 5 tournaments in a row, or Scotty Scheffler winning. I mean, once that clicks in, it's as contagious that way as it is the other way. And what we've done really well is we've used the situations in the back end of all these big games as a massive boost for us to know that we can do it. And that's what sports people want to know. Sports people that play at this level, they just want to have belief that they can do it. And the belief is growing. And, it's a little bit reminiscent of 2007. I remember being in a hotel in Marseille when France beat New Zealand in Wales. And the hotel went berserk, because they realized that New Zealand were knocked out of the World Cup. And I can tell you, when Munster won and we got a home final, it was almost the same. I'm not saying we underestimated anybody. It's just that we didn't ever think that we were going to get a home final. There are a lot of things in the last 3-4 weeks that were going the other way. Glasgow, when I'm telling you what we were planning, Glasgow, we were going to pump Zebra. And the points difference were going to mean that Glasgow were going to finish 3rd and Leinster were going to finish 4th, which means Leinster would have played Munster and Glasgow would have played us. And therefore, we would have then been able to, play. We would have had to play Leinster or Munster in the final. And in a month, hosting a final sold out with 53,000, and I'm going to say it to you, fanatical Bulls supporters. Now that is completely different to playing at Thornton Park this weekend.
Jake, you mentioned how you just want the guys to bring the same as what they brought last week against Leinster, and obviously it was an exceptional performance, but are there any areas of the game from last week that you think they can maybe improve on a bit?
No, look, Ken, I don't think there's anything we did last week that I think what they showed last week is they just need to replicate that. I mean, that Leinster team is a really good rugby team. I mean, and everything we did was good enough in every department. The way we scrummed, the way we mauled, the way we defended, the way we scrambled, the attitude we had of the bench coming off, the attitude we had of the staff going into the game, the attitude we had of the players who didn't play post the game. There would be nothing. That's why my challenge to the players is, can we repeat that? Can we repeat everything you did? Whatever you did last week, I'm not asking you to do anything else other than repeat that as a collective group.
Thank you.
Jake, sorry, just one more. If I could just ask about Zach Berger coming back onto the bench.
Yeah.
Has he had a little bit of a niggle or
No.
thinking behind that?
Well, there's competition for that jersey, and Zach Berger played in the final 2 years ago. He's got, I think, almost 50 games. Him and Chris Smith have played together, must be 40-odd something times together. I just think it's, again, what's important for the team is that it's a final. You've got two guys who've played 40-something times together. And I don't want to say I have a gut feeling, but I just have a feeling that a guy like him in a big game like this, having his experience, even if it's on the side of the field or whether it's having to go on, is more important for us this week than having Keegan, who's less experienced, who's done really well in his training, etc. I just think that's what the team needs this weekend is a couple more seasoned guys that have been there and done it.
Cool. Thank you.